Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome, welcome.
Ah,
Have
hey,
we got
Belinda.
everyone?
Just firing off.
Oh, yeah, this is so cool to see all these amazing faces on the screen.
Oh, hi, Mel.
You're all very, very welcome. Look, we're going to get started. I'm sure there'll be people trickling in as we go, but it is really inspiring to see so many familiar faces on this screen. Just firstly, I know that a number of people would have been part of yesterday's full day event, and it was, from the point of our point of view anyway, it seemed to be a very, very successful day and a great day of participatory music making. And of course, today we're here to talk about community music leadership, and in particular with a focus on inclusivity and increasing diversity. How do we increase diversity in our community music groups? And it's so wonderful to see such a large number of people who are interested in that topic. Before we go any further, I'd like to acknowledge that Lyndal and I are beaming to you from Bunurong country, and I'd like to acknowledge elders past and present and future, and the fact that this land that we're actually currently on was never ceded, never given up, and in fact taken. So I'm going to show you the name. You've got your piece of paper from yesterday and you'd like to share it. And if you'd like to quietly, in your own way, acknowledge the country that you're on, I just think that it's such a powerful way, actually incredible step towards inclusivity and diversity, acknowledging the first peoples of this country. So, Lyndal, do you want to just give a quick overview of the day, and then we'll hand over to Catherine?
Sure. After yesterday's epic journey, I feel like today is we're going to be speed dating today. So we're going to have a bit of a sing, as we usually do with CMVIC events, and then we're going to go into breakout rooms and talk about the highs and lows for 2021. Then we'll reconvene and have a look at, I'm going to talk about the Growing Community Music Project, which is the main thrust of Community Music Victoria's direction, basically. Nicki's going to speak. Catherine's going to talk about her incredible work as a music therapist and the work she's doing up there in Mildura. And then we'll go back into breakout rooms to talk to each other one more time about what we're already doing and how we could improve our practice, and come back together for a final song. So we'll you don't have to remember all that. We'll tell you as you go, but just to get an overview that we're going to be going out into breakout rooms and then coming back together again.
Okay, thanks, Lyndal. So Catherine has a fabulous song, and it's one of the songs from yesterday, Catherine.
Yeah, it sure is.
Ripper. So great. Take it away, Catherine.
All right. So this is called Singing Every Day. If you weren't here yesterday, the first section's a call and response. And then in the second section, there's lots of harmonies. And I'll just sing all of them in a row and you add in whichever ones you like. So I'm sure all you fabulous leaders, we have to pick up those harmonies. It's nice and easy. Well, I'm singing every day and every night. Well, I'm dancing you. That dancing.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Woo, the dancing.
Yeah.
That's a good wake-up song in the morning.
I feel the same way. I'm finally awake.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Who needs coffee? You have a
Me.
dance and a sing. Have you thought about a community music morning show where you don't just have a little guest and good morning, you're with Community Music Victoria, let's wake up with music, and then you have
have our own Zoom radio channel.
why
video
not?
channel.
Why not?
Yeah.
I think it would, be great.
Great. We're going to go into breakout spaces now. And Craig, I suppose the process is you'll just randomly put us into breakout rooms.
Yeah, no social engineering today. It's too early in the morning for social engineering.
So welcome back, everyone. I think we're all slowly coming back into the main space. We actually should have titled that first part of today's segment Speed Dating for Community Music Leaders. It felt like we were trying to get a lot of information in a very short space of time. Incredibly inspiring to be in that small breakout space, to hear the highs, but to also hear the challenges. And one of the challenges that really struck me that we didn't talk about overtly was the extra workload for community music leaders, having to plan and organise. Suddenly you have to change. You've got a plan in place, and then, okay, the gig's not going ahead, or the face-to-face rehearsal's not going ahead. And we didn't really get to talk about those challenges, but that might come out throughout the day anyway. Thanks for your participation so far, and I would like to hand over now to Lyndal Chambers. Are you there, Lyndal? Oh, there you are.
Oh, I'm here.
Lyndal's going to talk to you about the Growing Community Music project. That's the current project, major project with Community Music Victoria. Over to you, Lynn.
Yeah, I think it would be really good to just have a little bit of a look. I want to screen share with you. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to screen share with you one of the reports, the summary report from Growing Community Music. And so I'm hopeful that you can all see my screen there. And so this really gives people, I'm trying to give people, leaders, a bit of a sense of where the organisation is headed. So just to tell the story.
Hey, Lyndal, we can't see it yet.
Oh, okay. So am I not a host? Oh, hang on, sorry.
Screen share?
Yeah. Wait a sec. Thank you for letting me know that. There we go. All right. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So in 2019, Jane Coker and I set about to try and find out what people in the different regions and people across Victoria needed, and what they were currently doing and what they wanted to do in the future. So briefly, the project description, as you'll see there, we consulted really broadly. The aim of the project was to research and identify needs, strategies and resources for increasing participation. We consulted the community in different consultation groups. We looked to minority groups that might have been being left out of what's currently being done or has been done in the past, to try and truly be an inclusive organisation. We researched international approaches to see what's happening in other parts of the world. And we talked to people, to previous Community Music Victoria leaders who had come through previous programs. We also identified potential partners. So just briefly, the outputs. The consultation workshops were absolutely fantastic. They were really illuminating, and we had people in local areas organising those workshops. We spoke with 160 different people on what their needs were for the regions, and we tried to get out of, we tried to go beyond what was traditionally Community Music Victoria's kind of core clientele. So we tried to reach out to all sorts of people that might be tangentially related to this work. We also conducted interviews with people who we went beyond the consultation groups and sought out people who were engaging with minority groups, and we interviewed them separately for groups who were underrepresented in the community consultations. We looked at the research internationally for what sorts of training was available for community music leaders within Australia and around the world. And we got together a group of 18 experienced community music leaders and we picked their brains. It was all kind of really, really illuminating, all that work. And it helped us to identify what we think we need to do as an organisation. So I'm just going to zoom down to the proposals, the key outcomes. So if you're looking at if we're looking at the green boxes in particular, we discovered that the networks are super, super important. People doing it together for each other, connecting regionally and connecting across the state. So we realised that we need to activate and support those networks. And there were all sorts of great comments. You can look at this report in more detail. It's on the Community Music Victoria website. And if you want to know more about how to find it, yeah, just contact us. It's under projects, growing community music, and you can read the report at your leisure. We realised that it needs to be paid work, so that we wanted to appoint regional catalysts to coordinate the activities in each region. We realised that people get burnt out when we're constantly relying on volunteerism. People get exhausted, and sometimes, you know, particularly what has come since we did the major part of this research, the bloody pandemic, has accentuated that even more. People need support, and they need paid people in the roles who can coordinate the activities within the region. We need local partnerships. We don't want to just say, okay, well, we're Community Music Victoria, we're doing our own thing and we're having a fun time singing with our group. We actually need, in order to reach out and to extend our work and to extend to people who really need it, we need to be partnering with local libraries, with local special schools, with local council organisations, with other sorts of community music, existing community music organisations or music organisations. So reaching out and partnering is going to strengthen what we do as an organisation. In stage 2 of community music, of growing community music, we propose to invest in the re-establishment of a team of facilitators who can support locally based leadership programs and tailored mentoring. So people in different places who are activating their networks can call on experts who might be kind of statewide experts in a certain aspect of the work, and they can call on them. And appointing an artistic program coordinator who would support the newly formed regional network. So all that's about having the structure at the hub to actually support these people who are doing the work on the ground. The big thing that perhaps we wanted to address today is to undertake a series of projects to meet the diverse music making needs of minorities within the community, including partnerships building with representative organisations, inter-arts activities, and encouraging groups to develop their own music. So we really want to make sure, we really want to shine the light on those diverse music making groups and their particular needs, and to have an awareness of that. Also, inter-arts. Street Sounds, I suppose, you can see those beautiful photos there. Street Sounds really was kind of part of the intersection between sort of things that go across the art. So we've got dancing and costumery and singing and playing, and it's a total package. And there's lots of different ways of, through our consultation, we realise there's lots of different ways of coming to this community music thing, that it doesn't have to be just one form of maybe playing with a group or sitting in a circle, singing in a group, that there's lots of different ways across the arts that we can come together in diverse ways. I think, advocacy, yes, totally. That's still going. Putting structures to advocate. If we don't tell people about what community music making is and who community musicians are and what need there is in the community, if we don't tell people, if we don't tell government, they won't know. If we don't tell other organisations, they won't know how important it is. So music making across, to tell people to advocate for music making across the community and advocating to all levels of government. I think that's pretty much it. I suppose what we might, perhaps we might go now, I might stop screen sharing and we might go now to talking about the new project in Mildura, maybe?
Yeah. So
how do I stop doing this? No, there we go. No, sorry, there it is. Start doing this.
Okay, thanks, Lyndal. And I know that's probably stimulated a whole lot of questions, but I'm hoping you're popping them into the chat. I'll tell you what, I thought it was going to be a long hour and a half, but it's going to be a very short hour and a half. Nicki, would you like to give us a brief overview of another element of that project that's going to be taking shape in Mildura, please?
Yes, I was wondering actually if Ollie wanted to talk with me, but I can certainly describe what's about to happen in Mildura. And really this meeting is like the first point of reaching out into what's going to become the first stage of the, well, I say first, second, whatever, the numbers are all irrelevant, but we're now going to start that project in Mildura. And we're so fortunate that Mildura is a region with a lot of music happening, and it's kind of the perfect pilot for this next stage. So we've been very fortunate to win some grant money, and maybe Ollie, you can talk about all the people that are in that pot, and then I can talk about the project after that. Does that sound okay? Oh, that makes it easy. Everyone gets to see. So the way the research was funded was through the Helen Macpherson Smith Trust, and they came up with another massive chunk of money that had to be matched in order to go out into the different areas that we've identified as going to that we're going to work in. And the Department of Social Services have come through with some funding to increase the reach of community music into groups of different abilities. So we are going to work with, when we identify them, organisations that work with people who can't otherwise access community music, and or whether that is disability groups or groups that are looking after people with social disadvantage, or whatever the areas are, and then also reaching out to the community musicians in that area, the leaders, and bringing those networks together so that we can kind of cross-pollinate, if you like, music with people who can't otherwise get to it, and build the network from that point. I hope any of that makes sense. You're certainly able to read Ollie's beautiful outline there. So our first point of call is to identify people who are going to be at the heart of working on the ground locally, and then from that group to find out what we call the catalyst, who is the person who will be working closely with me to really drive these initiatives. Ollie, is there anything you want to add? Yes, there'll be workshops to help upskill leaders, and also developing resources to support new leaders, if they're new leaders or leaders already working who want to extend into more diverse ability and more diverse community inclusion. So I think inclusion is the important word, is that we're trying to help everyone, to help more people to make music. And yeah, the team, the core team, to help us drive that forward, they're the really important people. And I think you've all already met the Brains Trust that we've hooked up with in Mildura, and now you're about to hear from Catherine, who's a powerhouse of networking capacity. I'm going to step back.
Let me just say a word before, very quick word. So the Helen Macpherson Smith Trust funded the first phase, which is the discovery phase, if you like, and they have agreed to fund the implementation phase, providing we get matched funding. And the work involved in doing that has been huge. And when we stop sharing, John Howard has been absolutely tireless in exploring this funding. And the first of the set of match funding is this. So this is in effect, the whole of this is what will be implemented, put together in Mildura, and how exciting is that? But then there will be more of these regional activities going on as other funding comes through, which we're optimistic about. And the other thing I was going to say was that you saw that one of the targets was that we'd appoint an artistic program coordinator, and that is in fact Nicki. So we do have Nicki in place. How wonderful is that?
So,
Thanks. More words.
It's Sunday morning. It's Sunday morning.
I just wanted to add one thing to Nicki and Ollie's description, and that is that I think we are so lucky that the money came up and that sort of came up for Mildura, because Mildura is going to lead the way. Mildura is going to help the rest of the state. It's going to teach the rest of the state how to do this work, and they are so well placed to do it.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone, for that input. And so Ollie and the CMVic team, would it also be, given that we've got people from all over the state here today and possibly interstate, but mainly Victorian people, so if there's anybody with some inside knowledge within a region that you think could be useful for seeking out that joint funding to go with the Helen Macpherson Smith, please contact Community Music Victoria, because being on the ground, you're going to have some better contacts. And an example I had was just, there was a comment that came up that said, please include neighbourhood houses in your proposals. So if you've got some inside knowledge in your region that could help to match that Helen Macpherson Smith funding, get on to Community Music Victoria tomorrow.
Absolutely, partnerships are across everything, not just musical organisations, but neighbourhood houses, any other
councils.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Great. Catherine, are you there? Are you about? I can't see you on my screen.
Here I am.
Great.
Oh, there she is.
So, Catherine, I'm not going to say too much. Catherine's just a powerhouse community music activist and leader who I don't think I know anyone else who actually does diversity and inclusion as well as Catherine. So we're really looking forward to hearing what you've got to tell us, Catherine. Over to you.
Thanks, Strat. I just feel really excited to be here with all these wonderful leaders, and there's so many people that I've worked with over the years out there. So thanks to all you guys for coming along. I guess just I'll give you a little bit of a picture about me and what I do, and then my ideas and thoughts about inclusion, true inclusion, and then just a few examples from the work that I do here in Mildura. If you've got some questions, just chuck them in the chat, and if I have time, I'll try and answer those, or if I don't, I'll make sure I get back to you another time. So I was very lucky to start my life in community musician as a very small person living in southwestern Sydney in the 1980s, where we had a community composer employed by the council. Amazing days. John Shortis, if any of you have come across an amazing ACT-based composer. And I was in a children's circus, community orchestra, all sorts of things with my dad, who I now know could hardly play a note, but at the time I thought he was wonderful. So very lucky start to my community music life. And I guess I was always immersed in full inclusion right from the get-go. So as Strat said, I've been working in this playing field for about 25 years, and I've worked in Gippsland, in Melbourne, in the Northern Territory, and I've been in Mildura for the last almost 7 years. And what I do here, I'm a music therapist, also music teacher and special educator and community musician. I should acknowledge that I lived in the Dandenong Ranges for 5 years, and a lot of what I know about community music I learnt from the wonderful Jeannie Marsh and Bev McAllister. So I really want to acknowledge their amazing contribution to community music in Victoria. I know Bev's not here today, but Jeannie's here. So right now, what am I doing? I run a business called Sunraysia Arts and Learning. Right from the get-go, my vision was that our business would somehow make music making accessible to anyone and everyone in our community, quality music making available. And so what has this led to? I've got a lovely team that work with me, which is amazing. But some of the on the ground stuff that I'm doing is I'm involved with the With One Voice Mildura Choir. I'm doing lots of intergenerational work in nursing homes. We run an early childhood music program. We're working in lots of Indigenous play groups, providing music making. We're currently using some COVID funding, which amazing Jill, who's here from the council today, the council have given us some money to push out a program called the Mallee Active Arts Roadshow. So we're taking just general community music making workshops across the whole of our shire. Our shire is quite large, and so we're getting out sort of to the outer reaches of Murrayville and Oyen and Underbull and the Mallee Tract and Nanjalock to Werrimal, and running COVID recovery music workshops. So that's a little bit about me and what I'm doing. What I want to do now, though, is just give you two big ideas about inclusion in community music. So I've got two really big ideas. When I sat down to think about what it is that I do, I sat down and thought, well, there's two really big aspects to my understanding of inclusion and then how I think I do that. So what does inclusion look like? So just before I start those two big ideas, high quality music making opportunities everywhere for anyone of any age. So it's not just about large print music and wheelchair access. True inclusion and accessibility moves well beyond that. It's about everybody, everywhere who wants to make music, being able to make music in some way. It's about creating a sense of belonging and welcome to everyone, regardless of barriers, both seen and unseen. And thank you to Nicki from when I was throwing her brainstorming thoughts for helping me word that up. It's fostering self-belief and confidence in every person that they can participate in music making. And it's about celebrating music participation in its broadest sense, rather than understanding music participation in a narrow way, like just playing a song or a piece. I feel like it's my job to celebrate and make explicit the courage and commitment it takes to participate at any stage of music making. And I feel also that it's my role to provide invitations to participate at any stage and explicit positive feedback to everyone who participates. Thank you so much to coming to listen to our music today. We loved having you here. So I see music participation really broadly, and that's what I want to talk a little bit about now. Oh, yes, Jess, I did talk to Nicki about that. I'll tidy up my notes and I'll send them out, no problem at all. Oh, thanks, Nicki. She's on it. Super fast. All right, so my two big themes. What is music participation? What does it look like? So I am observing, and I guess that's thanks to my music therapy training, massive part of my skill toolkit is observing. I observe always and everywhere looking for and drawing out music participation at any stage of the continuum. So what does music participation look like? What am I looking for? So the first, and I think I need to preface this by saying that I'm not just talking about music participation in community music settings. I'm talking about in people's houses, on the street, in the supermarket, at school, at the kinder, at the playgroup. I'm talking about absolutely everywhere. So, you know, I'm thinking about music making right where it starts in the home. Music participation and community music making in a very broad sense. So I've got a kind of continuum, which again, I'll send out to you. What does music participation look like? Being present, just being in a space where music making is going on in the communities, organisations and at home. And we run a program here called Music Together, and it's for 0 to 5s and family members. It's an early childhood music program. Those babies are often present. And I see that as music participation, and I make that explicit in my sessions. Wow, so-and-so is here listening to that music. It's so important for them hearing you sing, mum, dad, nana, auntie. That baby is present. They're already participating. People who come and listen to someone jamming in the street, they're already participating. And I try and draw that out and make it explicit. So people are participating at many levels. The next stage, listening, watching or observing, choosing to observe music making. Again, in the community, organisations at home. Sometimes singing and playing on the inside. We have a lot of people who come to our With One Voice Mildura choir to listen. And I try to acknowledge that as music participation. Thank you so much for coming to listen. It really supports us in our music making. I hope that you've really enjoyed joining in by listening today. Or in when I'm working with people with disability and I've learned to observe what listening looks like. Don't stress, I'll say to the support workers, so-and-so doesn't need to bang that drum. Relax, they're listening. Listening is a massive part of music participation. And we all know that listening is an incredibly important thing to do when you're trying to learn music. So that I try to really celebrate what might look like passive music making, but to me, that's active music making. Making sound and moving is the next stage. Any sound, any movement, any volume, any size, any duration, even if it's not intentional. So my job is to find a way to draw attention to the musical elements of the sound or the movement that someone's making. And I see this particularly in my work with people with profound disability. Someone might make a non-purposeful sound which may not be heard as music. I hear that as music. I see that as music participation. And I try and find a way to draw that out and celebrate that. The next stage I see is making purposeful sound or purposeful movement, choosing to make music with your body. Again, at home, in the community, at school, in the supermarket. My daughters don't like it when I do it in the supermarket, but, you know, such is preteen life. So that, again, I celebrate that. So, I mean, we have a lot of members in our choir who, when they join, may never have used their singing voice or have not, you know, it might not be something that they feel really powerful or confident at. And I really try really hard to celebrate every stage of that. Thank you so much for joining us with your voice today. It's so great having everyone's voices here. Making purposeful sound and movement with others. So taking the leap to joining in with a group, no matter what you contribute. And so I've run choirs in special schools for 20 years, and I really try to celebrate and also embrace and then support other people to accept that someone may not be singing the same words as we're singing, or someone might not be singing exactly at the same time, but this is their way of contributing. Then I've got it moving into tuneful and rhythmic sound. And so many times, like a number of members of my choir with disability might be singing along in tune, but not quite managing the words and kind of doodling along. And again, we celebrate that. And then moving into making tuneful and rhythmic sounds with others. To me, this is all music participation. And I'd really never want to forget the people who are supporting music making. So they kind of go all alongside my continuum. They might never sing or play a note, but they work away making sure other people can participate. So to me, they're part of the music participation continuum, because without them, things would often stop. So that's my picture of music participation. And I think our role as community music leaders or music leaders in your own home is sometimes just to recognise someone's music participation at whatever level that is. The baby kicking their legs when they listen to music, or the person singing as they walk down the street, or when I run community workshops at festivals, the people that creep up and just kind of tap behind me. I really try to make sure that I celebrate that and make that explicit. So that's my first big rule, principle, thing that I live by. The second idea is that leadership and true inclusion is rich and wonderful, but it is almost always extremely messy. We all know that life is really messy, and this is even messier, I would argue, in some cases. True inclusion, it's our role to lead through that in an honest, real way and bring those challenges out into the open. So people come to community music, and in this case, I'm talking explicitly, of course, I'm talking across community, across organisations, but in this case, I'm talking explicitly about people coming to group to make music. Messy and demanding, absolutely, Kerry. Because being accepting of people's levels of music participation doesn't mean that I'm going to just stand in the room with lots of people hoodling and say that's okay. We're still working together, for example, in my choir, to try and make a joined up sound, but not judging on our journey to that is probably the important thing. So that's, yes, thank you, Lyndal, non-judgmental celebration. But it really is, it's messy. So it's really being able to live with the messiness, that sometimes a session will be really hard, or the conversations you have with people coming to your group can be really hard, because true inclusion is hard because it challenges people. It challenges people to look at their own, what they might be judging, or their own barriers or their own obstacles. It challenges people to look at what they expect might be different to what somebody else expects. And people coming along to community music groups come with an incredibly diverse set of expectations and hopes. So again, I feel like it's my role to draw these out and make a space where people can talk and journey through the inevitable bumps when people's expectations are different. And this happens all the time in all of the places I work in and make music in. So I see this as a combination of creating a space where all stages of music participation are recognised and celebrated, and sometimes just the messiness of them being celebrated. Gosh, it was hard to sing because so-and-so was clapping because that's what they need to do, but so-and-so over here is hard of hearing. This is hard, but didn't it sound great anyway? So that's really my job, is to make sure it's all out there and it's all direct. I try to be clear about what I hope for as a leader, so musically and socially. I really hope we can sing this piece in 3 parts, but it might take us a while because some of us are still learning to sing in unison. That's okay. That's our journey as a music making group. I explicitly talk about the challenges of inclusion as much as I can in an open, honest way. So it might be one-to-one to people. It might be a comment I make in the whole group when we are faced with a challenge face-to-face. I think the biggest part of this is being prepared to introduce and try out practical ways to make sure that different ways of participation are not excluding. So, for example, in our choir, there are a number of members who find it hard to hear, who are hard of hearing either because of ageing or whatever other reason you might have for finding. But I also have a number of members who really love to dance and clap and while they're learning songs. And so I try quite a few things, and I've encouraged the choir to come up with creative solutions for this. Maybe so-and-so could move over here and that would help you hear. Maybe we can find another way to move our body that doesn't make sound. Always trying to acknowledge also the impact of those kinds of crashes. No, really it is, I love that you're dancing, but maybe if you dance over here, it will help so-and-so be able to hear. So I try and couple high expectations musically with the celebration of everyone's journey. The other thing is choosing repertoire. I try to choose repertoire that has multiple entry points And again, that's a really tricky journey. I really want to challenge people that want to learn who, you know, challenging repertoire, singing in 3 and 4 parts. But I also know that there's people coming in who might feel challenged by that. And so choosing repertoire where you can feel successful at lots of levels. I think the other thing that's really key about my approach to all of this is trying to keep a sense of humour. And so there'll be days at the end of choir or my music together classes or Indigenous playgroup where, you know, we've had like 6 kids just belting around the room while, you know, there's been a couple of mums and me on the floor, is being able to just have a laugh about how messy it is and how music making is often messy. Yeah, so I know I'm going to run out of time, so I just, I could talk for hours about this, but I just want to really encourage you to celebrate the messiness of the journey, but also to be quite practical. Okay, well, how are we going to, you know, be out there with it? How are we going to help each other make the best of being here when sometimes people need to dance and sometimes people need to hear? Great question, Belinda. So a lot of our work has moved online in regional Victoria. Because of the group restriction sizes, even when we're out of lockdown, things like choir and playgroups and stuff either have to be reduced in size. So some of our programs had to reduce down to be under 10 people. So that's endless timetabling for me, of course. But choir has had to be online. We had 2 very lucky sessions in the little window there between lockdown 6 and 7. So yeah, great question, Belinda. I think I just want to leave you with this thought, and this, I didn't get to say this in my breakout session, but this pandemic and my work in inclusion and diversity in community music has really left me with the fact that simple things are powerful. That all of what you're doing every day is increasing the, you know, inclusion and diversity. Sharing music in a joyful way is an incredibly powerful thing that you do every day to support community connection and inclusion. This pandemic has taught me that you can never undervalue how important it is just to share music with joy and how inclusive that is and how connecting that is for our community. So I think I just want to leave you with that because you're already doing it.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Catherine, I want to thank you again. You've just sort of provided so much food for thought. And for Lyndal and I, who have been doing this for a long time, it just confirmed so much, but gave us so much. We're going to be talking about this all day today, I can tell when we get off soon. Very, very inspiring indeed.
Thank
you. Thanks to everyone who's participated. I really hope that this has given you that same level of inspiration and also I think one of the really important things that Community Music Victoria has done in all the years that I've been involved is this networking, is this bringing us together and giving us opportunities to say, oh, now there was such and such from so-and-so who really had this great idea and I'd like to talk to them, or they had a great song. And so we can get back to Community Music Victoria and say, how do I contact that person? So Community Music Victoria is the hub for ideas, for repertoire, for so much. But thanks for your participation. We're going to finish off today with another great song, and I'm going to hand it over to Nicki.
You only hope it's great. So at the inspiration of Belinda Glass, who many of you know, I have been going to a singing circle on the west coast of the US with a beautiful singing leader called Amy Ringle. And she taught a little short song, which I immediately forgot, but I didn't forget the quote that it was based on, which is from Maya Angelou. And some of you might already know it and might really relate to it, and is certainly kind of pertinent for us in this context. And that quote is, do the best that you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. And so I've been trying to remember that song, and I think that I've kind of mishmashed it and perhaps just folked it into something of my own. So I hope you don't mind too much. But it's a great one to kind of improvise and jam over the top of. So I'll just teach you the melody, and maybe the next time we meet, we can work out what the other parts of it should be. So it goes like this. Do the best that you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. Do the best that you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. Do the best that you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. Do the best that you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. Do the best that you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. Thanks for singing along.
Wow, that is so cool. And what a great message, eh? Mind you, you're going to be just putting the bar higher and higher.
I also thought you could add some brass there, Lyndal and Strat. And
well, we nearly went to get them. Yeah, that's great. So, look, thanks everyone, as I said, for your participation. Thanks to everyone for their presentations. Thanks to Lyndal, to Nicki and Ollie for bringing us up to speed with what's happening with the project in Mildura. Thanks, Kath, for those absolutely inspiring points. And what's so inspiring about them is that they're so based on your experience and on things that are achievable. And I think that's what people are going to really take away today. Go well into the rest of the weekend, everybody. And hopefully this has been worthwhile for you as it has been for us. Thanks for being here.
And hands together for Lyndal and Strat as well for all their facilitation over the weekend.
See you in the flesh.